Hi, welcome to BizJet TV. Today's episode we're going to be talking about an incident that happened on Saturday, the 3rd of September, United States. An FBO worker stole an airplane and flew around for a while and then crash landed and actually walked away and didn't get hurt. He has been arrested though. So, this is what we're going to talk about in today's episode. How did this happen? We're going to talk about, is it possible to steal an airplane? Is it easier to steal an airplane than stealing a car? And also, what can you do to make sure your airplane is safe and so it doesn't get stolen? So this is going to tell you the inside story of how these things happen, and preventative measures and stuff like that. Welcome to BizJet TV. If you've never been on this channel before, lots of content. If you're watching on YouTube, it's been going for a while. Rumble, we're new, but lots of content here too. About private aviation and aviation in general. So, we'd love to hear your comments below. Remember to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. So let's get into today's episode and find out what happened. So off we go now. Over to Tupelo Regional Airport in Mississippi, which is where the incident happened. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and a gentleman called Corey Patterson, who'd been working at the airport for 10 years, decided he was going to steal an airplane. He probably didn't decide there and then. He's probably been planning this for a while. So let's look at the scenario. He'd been working at the airport as a line technician for 10 years, so he knew a bit about airplanes. He was also a student pilot, been a student pilot since 2013. What does student pilot mean? It means somebody that has flown solo in an airplane but haven't passed the test yet to be a private pilot. The difference between a student pilot and private pilot is a student pilot can fly an airplane on their own. They're not allowed to carry passengers. A private pilot can carry passengers but can't carry passengers for hire. In order to carry passengers for hire, you need to have a commercial pilot's license, and in order to be an airline captain, you need to have an airline transport pilot's license, and that's how that one works. So we know he had limited flying experience, but some flying experience, and we also know that he knew the airport. He also knew that the airplane had been completely fueled up, so he jumped in, took off, and started flying around for several hours over Tupelo, and then he radioed across saying that he was going to crash the airplane into a building. So they managed to evacuate all the people from the building. Then he turned around and apologized over social media. So obviously he had time to start Facebooking or Instagramming or whatever he was doing on the plane. And he then turned around and apologized and said, apologized. And so they started talking to him and trying to convince him to land the airplane. So they got an expert pilot on over the radio to talk to him. Eventually, the gentleman crash landed the airplane in a field near the airport. And he actually walked away from the crash, so he wasn't even injured. They captured him, took him to jail, where he is right now, without bail, which is understanding because what he was doing was potentially terrorism, because he threatened to fly the plane into a building. So he's in deep trouble. I should imagine that this gentleman is probably mentally disturbed, maybe on antidepressants or some drug of some sort, which caused him to do this. But question, is it easy to steal an airplane? Well, first of all, this is a regional airport. So regional airport, and the guy worked at the airport. So he had a badge to go in and out and on the ramp. So a lot of people don't know that airplanes don't have keys like cars do. So it's not that you put the key in the airplane and start it up and go. Yes, the smaller Cessnas do have a key. But the bigger airplanes like jets, even airliners, they don't have keys. So as long as you can get through the door, you can actually start this thing up and go flying. And this is exactly what happened here. Now, airplanes do get stolen. In the United States, they steal a lot of airplanes, then fly them down to South America and, load them up with drugs, land in fields and all that kind of thing. So this happens all the time. It happens in Africa. I know of a friend of mine who had a charter company in South Africa, and they were on a flight in Libya, and the airplane was parked. The pilots went to a hotel. Next morning they went back. It was a DC-9, so it was an airliner, and the airplane had disappeared. It had been stolen, and they don't know where it went. Until this day, they still don't know where it went. So airplanes do get stolen, and they're a lot easier to steal than cars. Of course, if you're going to steal an airplane, you have to know how to fly a plane, how to navigate, and all that kind of good stuff. And you can steal airplanes a lot easier from certain airports than from others. I mean, stealing an airplane at London Heathrow or JFK is going to be a lot more difficult, even though an airplane was stolen at Seattle Airport a few years ago. Again, it was somebody that worked at the airport and jumped in the plane and flew around for a while. They actually crashed and died, though. So, this does happen from time to time. So what can you do to keep your airplane safe? Well, keep it locked, because you can lock the door. That's certainly one thing to do, because it's a lot more difficult to sort of, break into an aeroplane if it's locked. And you probably may make noise doing that, and people may spot you doing that. I'd also keep the airplane in the hangar, because if it's in the hangar, if someone's going to steal the airplane and it's locked and it's in the hangar, they first have to unlock it, then you have to get it out of the hangar, and that will cause people to notice them. So, but if you keep your airplane out on the tarmac and you don't lock it, well then it could be stolen. The other thing you can do is don't leave too much fuel in the airplane if you're going to leave it on the ramp, because if someone's going to steal the airplane, they'll probably know what they're doing, so they'll switch the battery on and they'll check the fuel, and if there's enough fuel in it, they'll go. If there isn't enough fuel, then they won't. So these are kind of things that you can do to keep your airplane safe. But planes do get stolen, so those of you who didn't know, this does happen. In this case, as I said, I think this guy was probably mentally disturbed. What he did, flying around, threatening to fly into a building, and then crash landing the airplane, and that. Unfortunately, these psychos are out there. And if you do own your own airplane, last thing you want is someone to steal it and crash it and things like that. So yeah, let's get the conversation going. Have you ever had your airplane stolen? And if so, how did it happen? Or maybe if you have stolen an airplane, how did you steal it? There's the guys that repossess aircraft. They have to kind of steal aircraft from people, the repo guys, and that is a business in itself, repossessing aircraft, and the people that make really good money doing that. But you have to have a good team around you to do that. I was asked to do that a few years ago, but it just I didn't have the team around me to be able to do repossessions of aircraft, but I do know people that do that. But anyway, let's get the conversation going here on BizJet TV. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to BizJet TV, and check this other video out that we did recently about this recent accident that happened, and see what happened there, and find out what happened and what systems can be put in place to avoid this type of thing from happening again. That's all for Fabrizio Poli on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.